Hello, Uta Hagen here. This is take two of today's post. I'm going to start with a quote from another trans widow. Her name is Shannon Thrace, and she just published a book called 18 Months, which is how long she tried to stay when her husband began really openly deciding that he was not only cross dressing, but he was so called transitioning. Her quote is, "He had room for nothing else." And she tried valiantly to advocate for herself as an equal partner in her marriage, which did not have children. So, in some ways, a little bit less complicated. I think that one thing that women uh, have a tendency to do, we trans widows have a tendency to do, is we have a tendency to uh, try to hold on to our ex husband's former self. We're trying desperately to hold on to whatever goodness and attraction um, and camaraderie that we had in that previous relationship. And what I would say that Shannon Thrace demonstrates in her excellent interview with Meghan Murphy on Meghan Murphy's channel is demonstrated by her quote, "He had room for nothing else," because it is just an obsession. And another observation that she has, which I think is really, really important, and what most of us observe, is that our husbands do not recreate some, or I don't know if recreate would be the right word. They do not create some kind of extreme happiness that appears to us who are close to them to be lasting. My husband, Nettie, uh, then former husband, never smiled after he had all the surgeries, and uh, it did seem, looking back on when I saw him, say, at the our son's wedding, and before that at our two sons' bar mitzvahs, and at the very few other situations where I would be together with him, like on a school field trip with the kids, or at some other school event. He did not seem happy, and I remember him being happy in the first 15 years of our marriage. I think that in a way he was happy because he thought that he was overcoming these uh, really oppressive thoughts of cross-sex ideation. I think that in all kinds of situations where we were involved in this international folk dancing that we did when we were in our romantic intimate settings, and when our children were born and things, I think he experienced really true joy, and I think that he was sort of relieved that he was getting away from this. I think he had a break from reality, just like Shannon Thrace talks about her husband, whom she calls Jamie, having breaks from reality. I think that when overwhelming feelings of for Nettie of becoming a father and having to engage in some discipline of our 3-year-old, particularly after the younger one was born, I think he had unconscious feelings that he was becoming like his father, who had been abusive and who I believe was probably on the autism spectrum if he had gone through today's multi-layered diagnoses. Um, he would probably be diagnosed somewhere on the autism spectrum. Uh, in some ways, the way Shannon Thrace describes her cross-dressing, cross-sex ideating former husband, it sounds like he might have had some issues on this spectrum too. He certainly did become obsessed. It becomes an OCD issue because, of course, like I've said before, you're not going to pass. You know that you are not this opposite sex that you are ideating about. Um, and there was an interesting question about what she did for pronouns. So she wrote in the present tense. And so at the time when she was coerced into using female pronouns for him, and she's in her writing, then she um, uses the female pronouns for him. Among our community, if we're going to have a trans widows community, I think that we trans widows will have different feelings about this. And now she uses he for him. She discusses him as a man. And I think that's healthier. When I started writing, I thought that I would write about him for the period before 1996, the summer of 1996 being when he went off to Stanford University Medical Center and had spent 5 weeks there and had all the surgeries all at once. And I was going to then say she when I first started writing in early 20, actually it was in late 2019 that I started writing. And I realized I can't do this. I can't do this. It doesn't make any sense. People won't know whom I am writing about. It's just too confusing. And so I explained why I used his correct biological male pronoun for him. And then when I discovered his second fraud that he committed in court, and realized that he was in an equity contract whereby he was going to gradually absorb up to or possibly more than 51% of the tech company that he's the chief operating officer of, COO of. I just said no. If you're willing to commit fraud twice in court, you are not entitled to call yourself the mother of the children, and you're not entitled to call yourself any kind of female. Another piece of it that Shannon Thrace mentions is the sense that he no longer is present in life, and especially in any kind of intimacy, in the way he was before. He is engaging in performative life after he's made this decision. And then another parallel experience was the direct experience with therapists. And she said that the therapist that he chose, that she went to with him, was pretty ditzy and acted like this would be a feather in her cap to have a client who so-called transitioned. And so that is really, really strong bias in the mental health field. And this is one reason why we trans widows need to speak out. That's really all about that I am going to mention today. I am going to probably post another movement video. I'm going to make myself go outside. It's a sunny but cold day, but I want to go outside for one of my 7-minute movement videos, because I think after watching some of these true tales, it's actually hard for any one of my subscribers and viewers to feel connected with their own bodies, and especially for trans widows. I also, I am planning on, doing more movement things. Please do just watch them. Don't try to do them along with me. Watch them, absorb them into your body, and get down on the floor and roll around. Your torso will be more connected with you. You will find mind-body connection, which is very, very satisfying. After this, I'm going out for what I call a stick walk with my Nordic sticks after I do 5 minutes of abs exercises, because I will feel more connected and I will stand more straight and the experience will be really real and wonderful. And I might see that red-shouldered hawk that we'll see that I saw yesterday. Yeah. So, um, and then I will be posting some information about two recent trans widows that I've had contact directly with her or with a good friend who is very alarmed at what she's going through. I will also be posting something about this concept that I've termed, which I call hothouse indignation, which is the extreme volatility that these ex husbands of ours develop regarding any perceived slight. It's um, it's kind of beyond the idea of what do they call it? Words being violence. And that's very important to know because Shannon Thrace also got accused of stuff. Her ex husband, when he was still married to her, also made stuff up. And later, after they got divorced, he slammed her online and engaged in defamation, and she lost friends. Uh, that is probably more common in today's lives of today's trans widows. So, because I didn't, you know, my ex husband didn't really have the option of trashing me um, on the internet or on social media or something like that back then in the 1990s. Um, he he trashed me to our sons and used even the judge's words from our legal document. They came home uh, spouting direct quotes from the visitation stipulations and things like that. It was really, um, yeah, they do that. So I'm signing off. Enough for now. And thank you, everyone.